Brace yourself for the ultimate Carolina Panthers experience. Welcome to Two Growls, One Roar, the podcast that hits harder than a Luke Kuechly tackle. We're diving deep into the heart of Panther Nation, bringing you unrivaled passion, insider takes, and pure gridiron fire. From Wilmington to the cosmos, this is your home for the fiercest football talk east or west of Charlotte.
All right, y'all, we're going to keep it rocking and rolling, so I make sure I hopefully can get through this. Well, we go from the safety position, we stay in the secondary, and now we're going to preview the cornerback room. And to be honest, I don't know that the cornerback room is in better position, but I don't know if it's in much better position than the safety room. But we'll talk about it. A lot to discuss here. So if you're just now tuning in, folks, or you haven't been tuned in and you don't know what the heck's going on, we're previewing the 90-man roster for the Carolina Panthers. All the offensive videos are either released or coming out in the next 2 days. I decided, because we live stream every Sunday night for the most part, live stream every Sunday night during the season, but I'm trying to get people back in the habit of tuning in, decided to record 3 videos tonight for cornerback, safety, linebackers for the 90-man preview. So we're going ahead and doing that. We're going to get through cornerbacks, try to do that speed so that I can close out this episode, and linebackers. So similar, I can't see you guys because I'm pulling up on another screen, but we can definitely feel free to use the chat, and then I'll come back to the chat as we get through it. So cornerback position for the Carolina Panthers, I was actually looking at this before as well, getting prepared. And I think one of the things that I don't know that it was super surprising, but a little bit surprising to me was the fact that Jaycee Horn and Mike Jackson are your 2 veterans out of this group. We'll scroll through. Actually, I'll scroll through the list in a second, or I'll read it. But both of those guys, 5 years of experience. It's wild to think. And I mean, I know JC just got his extension and all that, and Mike Jackson got re-signed as well. But like, that is the veteran leadership that we have in this room, and it's good. We'll get into Jaycee Horn as we get there. But looking at the list, we'll do the same thing we just did for safety. So Shamar Bartholomew, out of Georgia Southern, Travis Broughton, rookie undrafted free agent out of TCU, MJ Devonshire, played at Pitt, Caleb Evans out of Missouri, Jaycee Horn, the University of South Carolina Gamecocks, Mike Jackson out of Miami, Michael Reed out of South Dakota, and then Shaw Smith Wade, Washington State, and Corey Thornton, rookie undrafted free agent. So 1, 2, 3 rookie, 3 undrafted free agent rookies in the mix. When you think about the cornerback room for the Carolina Panthers, I know some folks wondered if the Carolina Panthers were going to draft a cornerback. I know a lot of folks were asking for it, did not pan out. And so now the Panthers are stuck with what they have. With that said, I do feel a little bit better, like we said, in comparing it to the safety room. I think there's enough. It may not be A++. It may not be the best, cornerback room or group of guys in the NFL, but I do think, like, similar to when we talk about Merrick, I think Jaycee Horn's in that mix. I do think Mike Jackson, although some folks may not be as sold on him, I do think he's viable. And also Shaw Smith Wade. I think the biggest question mark at the nickelback position, I think the biggest question mark we are going to have is just kind of figure out who the rotation of guys is going to be. It's inevitable. Again, we always say, knock on wood, we don't want to see any of these guys get hurt, but there's always a possibility. And so I think just understanding, like, who out of this group is going to kind of take the next step up. One thing that's been highlighted by some is some of the size that Ejiro Evero likes to deploy. He likes bigger cornerbacks. You look at the guys that we have here, 6'1", 5'11", 5'11", 6'2", 6'1", 6'1", 6'2". 5'11", like he generally picks, big cornerbacks. And so, I mean, that's like, you got to be, I guess 5'11" is his checklist. If you're below 5'11", at least the way the roster is constructed right now, you might not be here. Anyways, let's go ahead and get this show rolling. We'll do the same thing as we have done for safeties and every other position on the team. So we'll start with Shamar Bartholomew, who I think has a possibility to make the 53. I do. I'm not saying you're going to see a lot out of him if he does make it there, but he was an undrafted free agent. I think he's a strong candidate if he does not make the 53, because I do think he could push for a roster spot if he has a really good camp, and maybe that special teams play, like you're going to have him contribute at some point through there. I think he has the potential. And so I think for me, it's unfortunate that we can't see, training camp this year to really see the competition as this thing plays out, but we'll have to kind of just see how it goes. Last year, he had 2 solo tackles. That's all his stats. I didn't mean to pull up the actual career stats, but we did. 2 solo, 3 total, 1 assist, 2 pass deflections. He appeared in 5 games. So I think that's another reason to potentially buy into the fact that, hey, maybe he's got a chance. So it was the Commanders game. What? I was looking at the preseason. I was like, what the heck? That's way off. So a lot of special teams play. I guess it was the final game against the Falcons was really where he looked at the Panthers being hurt as much as they were. And it feels like ages ago, but it looks like he did got a pretty decent playing time and played on the defensive side of the ball. So got the win over the Falcons. I would put him in the mix. And I think the other thing, which I did not, and I should have done this when I went through safeties, as we go through all this, it's trying to break down the final 53. That's eventually what we'll get to. For the offensive side of the ball, I have the Panthers with around 23 to 24 players. So defense, 26 to 27-ish is the number that we're monitoring. For the safety position, I have 4 to 5 safeties. And so I think I'm close to that mix, with cornerbacks likely keeping 5. Could be 4, but I think 5 is probably the number there. We'll go back. All right, so Travis Broughton, we'll get him pulled up here in just a second. Sorry for the delay in pulling this through. Like I said, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the undrafted free agents. 5'11", 195 pounds. Let me go see if I had any notes. No, I was seeing if there was anything like super significant that I had. Scrolling through one more time. Nope. Nothing out of this group. So, or for Travis, excuse me. But you know what? Just like we said, we get into the preseason and the games, see what happens. Maybe there's something there that pulls us out. MJ Devonshire, 5'11", 186. We'll get him pulled up here as well. Take a second to get this load. 5'11", 186, 1 year of experience, played at Pitt. He did appear in the preseason. This was not here, but played a little bit. So, I mean, for us, primarily, this is not what I wanted to do. I keep clicking the wrong thing. When you look at MJ Devonshire, Panthers picked him up very early in the offseason. I was trying to think back to when everything blurs together. You know what? We can actually do this. I'm going to do a quick look because it's been a while, and I'll share the tab in a second. I feel like they picked him up at the end of this season, but I honestly can't remember because it's been so long. So I'm going to try to pull this up and see. Yeah, claimed off of waivers back in April. So that's where they picked him up. So claimed off of waivers, kind of went under the radar. I mean, not that much to talk about with MJ Devonshire, but potential as we talk about depth pieces for the Carolina Panthers. I do have him on my list. All right. We'll try to get back into being able to actually share this the right way with you guys. One day we'll get there. All right. Caleb Evans actually has, when you look at the experience, I want to make sure I didn't actually, okay, good. I make sure I didn't pass over anybody as we go through this. So Caleb Evans has the second most experience outside of Jaycee Horn and Mike Jackson. I'll pull up his info here. 4 years of experience, 6'2", 198 pounds, 26 years old, out of Missouri. Last year, he had 4 solo tackles. We'll get all of his career stat line pulled up here. So previously spent time, his first 3 seasons with the Minnesota Vikings, and actually in the 2023 campaign wasn't terrible. He appeared in 15 games. So getting some playing time, had 56 total tackles, 40 solos, 16 assists, 7 pass deflections, and 1 interception. As a rookie in 2022, appeared in 10 games, 21 total tackles, 2 pass deflections. In 2024, I don't have everything pulled up in front of me, but clearly a drop off, only appearing in 7 games and having the 1 tackle. And then last year he appeared in 2, which will pull up his game log. Something tells me it's probably similar to late in the season opportunity. Yep. Against the Atlanta Falcons and the Tampa Bay Bucks, also in between. But as you do look at the state of the Panthers cornerback room, I do think you can make a strong case right now that MJ Devonshire is in the mix. I think a Caleb Evans is in the mix. And this is, guys, we were talking like fourth and fifth spots. Shamar Bartholomew as well, just because of his ties to Big Here. So I look at those 3, and I should be sharing this tab for you guys so you can see it as well. But I do think those 3 are in the mix. Now we get down, and now we're getting into really the meat of the roster with all the guys that we know. The 3 out of the 4. Actually, before we do the 3 out of the 4, we'll lastly look. Last undrafted free agent rookie is Michael Reed, 6'2", 200 pounds, out of South Dakota. And let me just check my notes. I'm not actually going to pull him up for the purposes of going through this. Yeah, there's not a lot, at least in the notes that I was pulling up for him as I was getting prepared for this. So before we get into like of course, the guys that we really know, talk about our expectations, I do look at this, and again, just to level set, probably 4 to 5 cornerbacks on the roster. Bartholomew in the mix, Devonshire, and I do think of Caleb Evans. So I do think out of that 3, 2 possibly make it, assuming, of course, we got Horn, Jackson, and Shaw Smith-Wade as the other 3. So that would be my 5 as we get into the final 53. I don't know that the Panthers are as active, at least right now, in considering like a cornerback. I think if they're looking for a cornerback, to potentially replace Mike Jackson next year would be an option through the draft. Like, let's get some young talent in here, see how it goes. All right. Like I said, we're going to bypass Michael Reed. I hope you do well, Michael Reed. Show us, prove us wrong, but we'll get into our starting lineup, which is, of course, Jaycee Horn, Mike Jackson, and Shaw Smith-Wade. I'm actually going to close a bunch of these other tabs because I got way too many tabs open from where I keep opening these things up. So Jaycee Horn, 6'1", 200 pounds, of course, out of the University of South Carolina, 25 years old. I was about to say 35. That was like, no. By far his best season for the Carolina Panthers last year. Appeared in 15 games, had 62 tackles, 43 solo, 19 assists, 2 sacks. That was pretty big. His first sack of his career, had 1 interception, 13 pass deflections. You know he missed, excuse me, time at the end of the season, but the Panthers, of course, not really in contention for anything. And they, in my opinion, just shut him down. Like, no reason to aggravate or cause something to be more severe than it needs to be. So just let him sit. So as far as concerns about him missing 2 games, I'm not worried about it. I look at Jaycee Horn as a foundational piece for the secondary, for the cornerback room, and the defense itself. Like, you think about the defense for the Carolina Panthers, who are those vocal leaders, who are the leaders in general. I don't know that I really feel that Rose Boom or Josie Jewell or Trevin Wallace, you typically would look for your middle linebackers to kind of lead the charge. I don't know that it's there. I think this is Derek Brown and Jaycee Horn's defense, and those are the focal points. You look back at the way Jaycee Horn played last year, one, the health and being able to play a full, we'll call it a full season, big. And it was not only the fact that he played, he performed at a high level. I think in some situations he got put in bad spots with some of the miscommunication and, of course, the run defense just being as bad as it was. Like, I think all those things piled together didn't make him look good in some cases, but overall, I'm glad the Panthers invested, made a decision to keep him around. And honestly, in the next year or two, the money that they paid him is going to look like a drop in the bucket. Like, it's just not going to be as big. But the thing that set it off for me, as far as where I see Jaycee Horn and how I respect him and what he is for the Carolina Panthers, and I honestly, at this point, can't even remember which game it was, but there was a game, it might have been the Bears, I don't know, where someone scored on them and then Jaycee Horn got pissed and kind of retaliated and run his mouth and was pushing each other. I'm all for it, man. Just tired of this defense and this organization is just being run into the ground and being a laughing stock. So, yeah, that's where I sit with Jaycee Horn. Big year now for those that are on the other side of the fence, because no matter how much I am a fan of him, I know there's still a portion of the fan base that maybe isn't sold on Jaycee Horn and this secondary and being able to stay healthy. And why did you pay him all this money? I do think there is still a little bit of hey, we need to see this. Even for those that are supporting him, we want to see it for another year. Let's just start building this up. The last thing we want is a situation where we continue to pile up injuries and miss time, CMC-esque type situation, and things just don't pan out. And when he is performing well, when he is out there, and we saw last year, he is one of the best cornerbacks in the league. And having that as a weapon on your defense, especially with hopefully the improvements that we see, like we talked about on the defensive front and getting to the quarterback, could be big. I think the question that I have is Ejiro Evero going to kind of loosen up a little bit, letting him either travel with number ones as a possibility? I don't know. I don't know if he's going to, change his philosophy to buy into the strengths that are on the roster, but hopefully he'll at least lean into it. Now, playing opposite of Jaycee Horn is going to be Mike Jackson. Really good story. I mean, you think about him, the trade to get him over here, what we gave up, which basically turns into nothing now, seeing the level of play that we got out of him, and then being able to sign him back here for 2 more years. Now, I know some folks, like we said, maybe you wanted an upgrade. Maybe you wanted them to draft. Maybe you wanted to look at free agency, but I think the Carolina Panthers, it made sense to bring him back to add that stability, because it's hey, you got a lot of holes on the defensive side of the ball. We're not telling you that, hey, yeah, you should maybe next year go out and look at a true number 2 cornerback to pair with Jaycee Horn. But at least for now, it's one of those issues that you can just push down the road a little bit and things are going to be okay. You can patch the boat and you're going to be fine. A little duct tape is going to help. It'll be okay. You'll get through it. Eventually, you're going to have to replace it, but at least for now, duct tape covers it up and you're going to be fine. So 6'1", again, got the 2-year contract, so you bring back both pieces in the secondary, 6'1", 210. He is 28 years old, so it's another reason. Of course, he'll be 30 when he gets through with his contract, so it's another reason why the Carolina Panthers should be looking to get a little bit younger heading into next year. So last year, 51 solo tackles, 2 interceptions. Pulling up his full stat look here. 51 solo, 18 assists, 17 pass deflections, 2 interceptions. I mean, hands down, best season of his entire career. Yeah, I even put it over his 2022 season with Seattle. But before that, he did have actually played 3 seasons with Seattle, 1 with New England, 1 with Detroit. I mean, you can see it took him a little bit to get his feet underneath him, but once he did, things kind of took off. Found some playing time. His 4th year in the NFL with Seattle. Of course, back in 23, played with them in a diminished role. You can see the drop in production there, so not as much. And then really just finding his spot here. When we talk about size, that's a big reason why he fits into the scheme so well. And I do think, like we've said, I think the secondary itself is going to find itself improving just by having a pass rush. And I do think he's a decent cornerback. Like I'm not one of the ones that are ready to just write him off and say that he's absolutely trash. And I also think it's the dumbest thing in the world when I see people posting or commenting on clips from OTAs or 7-on-7 and just no comment. People that are upset about a play. This player's getting burned on this play with this situation. Like stuff like that drives me crazy. So for me, I do feel good about the 1-2 between Jaycee Horn and Mike Jackson. Lastly, we did skip over Corey Thornton. Sorry, man. Corey Thornton. This is what I get for having the list a little too long. But Corey Thornton is also an undrafted free agent rookie out of Louisville. Another one, of course, 6'1". Got to have those measurables. We'll talk about Shaw Smith-Wade is the last cornerback. And for those that are tuned in right now to the live version, I will jump back in the chat real fast before we move on the linebackers. I'm way over time, man. Time management's not good for me tonight. So Shaw Smith-Wade, he's only 22 years old. He's young. I did not realize how young he is, but 5'11", 176 out of Washington State. I don't know why he also looks a little bit like shorter or smaller on film compared to the other guys, but still decent size. Last year, appeared in 14 games, 36 total tackles, 22 solo, 14 assists, 1 pass deflection, and 1 interception. Really, as it sits right now, he's your nickel when you're looking at the starting lineup for the Carolina Panthers. And you kind of look at him similar, didn't see a lot of playing time the first 4 weeks, even getting into the Bears and Falcons, not so much, but then saw his role kind of come around a little bit. Week 7, Commanders, then the Broncos, Saints. Nothing against the Giants and Chiefs, but then the Bucks, Eagles, and Cardinals. So I do think he's another one. The other thing, too, like if you end up hitting on Shaw Smith-Wade and you hit on Damani Richardson, if you're Dan Morgan in the front office, of course, bringing in the free agents that you did as well, really good foundation for the future. Just talking about how young these guys are being able to play in. So for me, I am looking forward to Shaw Smith-Wade as the nickel. I mean, I did a little bit when we were going through like the draft process, wonder if the Panthers were again going to sniff around in that realm of the world and potentially look at a nickel cornerback, but they didn't. So that is going to wrap it up for all of your cornerbacks. I guess before I officially say this is it, because I didn't do this for safeties, if we had to do a way too early projection, I think it's pretty obvious. Shaw Smith-Wade, Mike Jackson, Jaycee Horn. I don't know that I could give you my final 2 out of the remaining, but I do think of Caleb Evans, Bartholomew, and Devonshire are the 3, at least right now, that I would put in contention for getting what we would presume are at least the final spot or the final 2 spots, depending on how many the Carolina Panthers keep